Perun, the thunder god whose hammer strikes created lightning and whose voice was the thunder that announced divine judgment. Welcome to Deca Rankings. If you want to know things, you're in the right place. The topic for today is Top 10 Most Powerful Slavic Gods. From the vast forests and endless steppes of Eastern Europe emerge divine beings that shaped the Slavic understanding of cosmic order, natural forces, and the sacred relationships between gods and mortals. These deities ruled over thunder and lightning, death and rebirth, craftsmanship and wisdom, long before Christianity transformed the religious landscape of the region. Preserved in ancient chronicles, folk songs, and archaeological evidence across Russia, Poland, Ukraine, and the Balkans, they represent the spiritual foundations of Slavic civilization. Today we explore the 10 most important gods of authentic Slavic mythology, from the least to the most supreme. We will discover their roles in cosmic governance, their dominion over natural forces, their relationships with human worshippers, and how their influence shaped the cultural and spiritual traditions that defined Slavic society for over a millennium. Number 10. Svetovid. Svetovid, the four-faced god of war, prophecy, and abundance, whose name means Lord of the World, possessed the power to see in all directions simultaneously and govern the fate of entire nations through his prophetic wisdom. This supreme deity of the Western Slavs stood as a giant idol with four faces looking towards the cardinal directions, holding a horn of wine that served as an oracle for predicting the success of military campaigns and harvests. His massive temple on the island of Rugan served as the most important religious center in the Slavic world, where his sacred horse provided omens and his priests interpreted divine will for rulers and common people alike. Svetovid's role as war god made him the ultimate arbiter of military success, with victories and defeats depending on his favor and the proper performance of rituals dedicated to his worship. Ancient chroniclers described elaborate ceremonies in his honor, including massive festivals where his horn was filled with wine, and its level the following year predicted the abundance or scarcity of the coming harvest. His sacred horse was used for divination, with its behavior as it crossed spears laid on the ground indicating whether military expeditions would succeed or fail. Archaeological excavations on Rugan have revealed evidence of his magnificent temple and the extensive ritual activities that made his cult central to Western Slavic political and religious life. The four-faced god represented the Slavic understanding that true divine authority required comprehensive vision and the ability to perceive threats and opportunities from every direction. Number 9. Jarilo. Jarilo, the god of spring, fertility, and passionate love, possessed the power to awaken the earth from winter's death and restore the cycle of growth that enabled all life to flourish. This youthful deity appeared as a handsome young man, dressed in white robes, riding a white horse, while carrying wheat sheaves and flowers that symbolized renewal and abundance. His annual death and resurrection mirrored the seasonal cycle, with his springtime return marking the end of winter and the beginning of the agricultural year. Jarilo's influence extended to human reproduction, making him the patron of young lovers and newly married couples who sought his blessing for fertility and passion. Ancient Slavic communities celebrated his festivals with ritual combats between representatives of winter and spring, with spring's inevitable victory ensuring the return of warmth and growth. His worship included sacred dances, flower garlands, and ritual marriages that symbolically reenacted the cosmic union between earth and sky that produced new life. Archaeological evidence suggests that Jarilo's festivals were among the most important celebrations in the Slavic religious calendar, involving entire communities in elaborate ceremonies that lasted for days. The spring god embodied the Slavic understanding that death and rebirth were inseparable aspects of cosmic order, and that renewal required the active participation of both divine and human forces. Number 8. Morana or Marzana. Morana, the goddess of death, winter, and seasonal rebirth, wielded power over the cold months that brought darkness and hardship to the Slavic lands. Her domain extended over the dying season when crops ceased to grow, animals perished, and communities struggled to survive harsh northern winters. Ancient Slavic peoples recognized her as the necessary force of death and dormancy that preceded spring's renewal, making her both feared destroyer and essential part of the cosmic cycle. She possessed the power to bring freezing temperatures, famine, and plague during winter months, while her ritual death each spring ensured the return of warmth and growth. Her worship involved elaborate spring festivals where straw effigies representing her were drowned or burned, symbolically ending winter's grip and welcoming the growing season. Today, her legacy continues in Slavic spring celebrations like the drowning of Marzana dolls, folk traditions marking winter's end, and recognition that death and rebirth form inseparable cycles in nature. Number 7. Svarog. Svarog, the god of wind and air, whose name means scattering god, controlled all atmospheric phenomena and possessed the power to bring both beneficial breezes and destructive storms across the Slavic lands. This ancient deity commanded the winds that filled the sails of merchant ships, scattered seeds across fertile fields, and brought the rains necessary for agricultural prosperity. His influence extended to weather magic and prophecy, as changes in wind patterns were interpreted as messages from the divine realm about future events and cosmic intentions. Svarog's worshippers included sailors, merchants, and farmers who depended on favorable winds for their livelihood and who made offerings to ensure his continued favor. Ancient Slavic peoples understood that his moods could bring either prosperity through beneficial weather or destruction through hurricanes, tornadoes, and other violent atmospheric disturbances. His sacred sites were typically located on high hills and mountain peaks where the wind was strongest and where his presence could be most clearly felt by worshippers. Archaeological evidence suggests that wind chimes, weather vanes, and other objects designed to interact with moving air were used in his worship ceremonies. The wind god embodied the Slavic recognition that atmospheric forces were conscious entities that required proper respect and ritual attention to maintain their beneficial rather than destructive aspects. Number 6. Mokosh. Mokosh, the great mother goddess of earth, fertility, and women's work, possessed dominion over agriculture, childbirth, and the domestic crafts that sustained Slavic households and communities. This ancient deity was the only female god mentioned in the pantheon of Prince Vladimir, demonstrating her fundamental importance in Slavic religious life and social organization. She controlled the fertility of both land and women, making her essential for crop production and the continuation of family lineages that formed the basis of Slavic society. Mokosh's sacred animals included sheep, whose wool provided the raw material for the spinning and weaving that were central to her worship, and women's economic activities. Ancient Slavic women would leave offerings of bread, wool, and handmade textiles at her shrines, seeking her protection during childbirth and her blessing for their domestic work. Her worship was closely connected to Friday, which became sacred to her, and women would refrain from spinning and weaving on this day to avoid offending the goddess. Archaeological evidence from Slavic settlements includes numerous spindle whorls and loom weights inscribed with symbols associated with Mokosh, showing her central role in women's religious and economic life. The earth goddess represented the Slavic understanding that divine feminine power was essential for both natural fertility and the cultural activities that transformed raw materials into the goods necessary for civilized life. Number 5. Svarog. Svarog, the sun god, whose name means giving god, possessed dominion over solar light, warmth, and the life-giving energy that enabled crops to grow and communities to prosper. This radiant deity was considered the ancestor of the Slavic peoples, making him both cosmic force and divine patriarch, whose bloodline connected mortals to divine power. He rode across the sky in a chariot pulled by fire-breathing horses, bringing daylight to the world while his palace of gold served as the source of all solar energy. Svarog's influence extended beyond mere illumination to encompass justice, prosperity, and royal authority, as earthly rulers claimed descent from his divine lineage. Ancient Slavic peoples celebrated him during summer festivals with fires, dancing, and offerings of bread and honey that honored his role in ensuring successful harvests. His worship was particularly strong among agricultural communities who depended on his favor for crop growth and protection from the destructive forces of winter and darkness. Archaeological evidence from ancient Slavic sites includes solar symbols and ritual objects dedicated to Svarog, demonstrating his central importance in pre-Christian religious practices. The sun god represented the Slavic understanding that divine power manifested most clearly through the natural forces that sustained human life and enabled civilization to flourish. Number 4. Veles. Veles, the god of the underworld, wisdom, and cattle, possessed dominion over death, magic, and the hidden knowledge that enabled shamans and wise men to communicate with spirits and predict the future. This chthonic deity appeared in various forms, sometimes as a great serpent coiled around the roots of the world tree, sometimes as a powerful sorcerer, and sometimes as a wealthy merchant controlling trade and prosperity. His realm encompassed not only the land of the dead, but also the underground waters and the secret wisdom that could only be gained through contact with supernatural forces. Veles served as the divine opponent of Perun in cosmic conflicts that created storms, shaped landscapes, and maintained the dynamic balance between order and chaos necessary for cosmic stability. Ancient Slavic peoples revered him as the protector of livestock, the patron of poets and musicians, and the source of magical knowledge that enabled healing, prophecy, and communication with the dead. His worship included offerings of cattle, ritual poetry competitions, and shamanic journeys to the underworld that provided access to hidden wisdom and supernatural power. Archaeological evidence suggests that his cult was particularly strong among merchants, herders, and magical practitioners who depended on his favor for their specialized knowledge and economic success. The underworld god embodied the Slavic understanding that wisdom often came through confronting death and darkness, and that true knowledge required willingness to explore the hidden dimensions of existence. Number 3. Svarog. Svarog, the Sky Father and divine blacksmith whose forge created the sun and stars, possessed the ultimate creative power that shaped the physical universe and established the cosmic laws governing all existence. This supreme craftsman god was considered the father of fire and metalworking, making him the patron of smiths, craftsmen, and all those who transformed raw materials into useful objects. His cosmic forge was located in the heavens, where his hammer strikes created lightning, and his fire provided the heat that powered the sun and gave warmth to the earth. Svarog's role as lawgiver made him responsible for establishing divine justice and moral order, with his sacred fire serving as the witness before which oaths were sworn and legal disputes resolved. Ancient Slavic peoples honored him through fire rituals, metalworking ceremonies, and the maintenance of sacred flames that connected earthly hearths to his celestial forge. His worship was particularly important among craftsmen who viewed their work as participation in his ongoing creation of the world through skilled transformation of natural materials. Archaeological evidence includes numerous tools, weapons, and ornamental objects that were ritually dedicated to Svarog, demonstrating his central role in Slavic technological and artistic development. The Sky Father represented the Slavic understanding that creation was an ongoing process, requiring both divine inspiration and human skill, working together to maintain and improve the world. Number 2. Rod. Rod, the primordial god of fate, ancestry, and cosmic order, whose name means clan or generation, possessed the fundamental power to determine the destiny of individuals, families, and entire peoples through his control over the forces of birth, death, and spiritual inheritance. This ancient deity represented the divine principle that connected all generations in an unbroken chain of blood, tradition, and sacred obligation that extended from the ancestors to the unborn descendants. His influence operated through the invisible threads of fate that bound family members together across time and space, making individual actions affect the welfare and destiny of the entire lineage. Rod's role as determiner of fate made him responsible for assigning lifespans, arranging marriages, and ensuring that cosmic justice operated through the consequences that passed from generation to generation. Ancient Slavic peoples honored him through ancestor worship, genealogical recitations, and family rituals that maintained the connection between the living and the dead, while ensuring proper transmission of traditions and values. His worship was intimately connected to household shrines where family ancestors were honored and where major decisions were made with consideration for their impact on future generations. Archaeological evidence suggests that Rod's cult was fundamental to Slavic social organization, with family burial grounds and ancestral shrines serving as focal points for community identity and religious practice. The fate god represented the Slavic understanding that individual identity and cosmic significance derived from participation in the eternal chain of ancestry that connected each person to the divine source of life and meaning. Number 1. Perun. Perun, the thunder god whose hammer strikes created lightning and whose voice was the thunder that announced divine judgment, possessed supreme authority over storms, warfare, and the cosmic justice that maintained order in both divine and human realms. This mighty deity appeared as a powerful warrior with a red beard, wielding an axe or hammer that could shatter mountains and create new river valleys with each strike against his enemies. His sacred oak trees served as conduits for his power, and his eagles carried messages between the earthly and divine realms, while his lightning bolts pursued demons and oathbreakers across the sky. Perun's role as divine warrior made him the patron of princes, soldiers, and all those who fought to defend cosmic order against the forces of chaos and destruction. Ancient Slavic rulers claimed his authority for their military campaigns and legal decisions, with his symbols appearing on weapons, standards, and royal regalia throughout the Slavic world. His worship included elaborate fire rituals, the sacrifice of bulls and roosters, and the maintenance of sacred groves where his oak trees grew and his power could be directly accessed. Archaeological evidence reveals numerous sites dedicated to Perun, including hilltop sanctuaries with fire altars and deposits of weapons that were offered to gain his favor in battle. The The thunder god embodied the Slavic understanding that divine justice required active intervention against evil, and that cosmic order could only be maintained through the constant vigilance and military prowess of righteous rulers. These gods of Slavic tradition embodied the understanding that divine power operated through natural forces, social relationships, and cosmic principles that required human participation and proper ritual attention to maintain their beneficial influence. From solar deities who ensured agricultural prosperity to thunder gods who maintained cosmic justice, they represented the Slavic recognition that the universe operated according to divine consciousness that could be approached through correct worship, moral behavior, and respectful interaction with the sacred forces that governed all existence. Like this video, and subscribe to Deca Rankings for more videos like this.